The perennial discussion on the 914 has always been, is it a real Porsche or not? And I know many collectors of air-cooled Porsches who have all the 911s under the sun and 356s, but not the 914s. And incredibly, in Europe at least, the four-cylinder cars were sold as Volkswagens. So how is it that a Porsche ended up being sold with a VW badge on it? It just doesn't make any sense. Today I want to find out why that happens, and also decide once and for all if this drives well enough to be considered a real Porsche. To fully understand, we need to go back to the 1960s. Porsche was in dire need for a replacement for its 912. At the same time, VW wanted something to take over from its very much aging Karmann Ghia. So they got together to design a cheap, light, mid-engine sports car. Two models were planned. A four-cylinder marketed and sold by VW, that was the 914-4. Then a six-cylinder car, the 914-6, which was sold by Porsche. There is something here though that you need to know. In America, for some odd reason, Porsche decided that both cars would be sold and badged as theirs. Midway through development, VW's chairman passed away, and his replacement didn't look favourably on the gentleman's agreement that they had with Porsche. He wanted them to take a much bigger share of the development costs of the car. Ultimately, it became much more expensive for them to produce. This meant that the 914-6 was actually only very slightly less expensive than a base 911T. This probably explains why they were only made for 3 years and 3,300 in all were produced. The four-cylinder, on the other hand, was a huge success. They made 118,000 worldwide, which beat the 911 comfortably. All the engines, including the Porsche one, were air-cooled. In case of the four-cylinder VW engines, they came in 1.7, 1.8 and 2-litre geysers. They were four-cylinder, and the 2-litre, which came out in 1973 in this car, was the most powerful with 101 horsepower. That still left it though, trailing the Porsche engine by 9 horses. In the case of the 6, most people, even purists, are now in agreement that it's a Porsche. But what about its lowly VW engined brother? You might be tempted to think that there isn't much Porsche DNA left, but things are not as clear-cut as they seem. For a start, this was, at 940, 40 kilograms lighter than the Porsche engine car. That's good enough for 10.3 seconds 0 to 60 and 119 miles an hour, which is pretty respectable for that time. Also, when we say it was designed jointly with VW, that's not really true. At this point in time, Volkswagen had subcontracted all its design work to Porsche. So in essence, this was very much conceived and designed in Stuttgart. VW was a partner in financial terms only. Even the suspension was the same layout as on a 911, so that's struts at the front and then trailing arms at the rear. Ultimately though, it's how it drives that will give us a definite answer. So let's find out. Well now, a car that confuses people about whether they're looking at the front or the back, that's not a great start, is it? I think historically these have been known as having controversial looks. Now the main problem is that it has those thin front wings that end with indicators, very much like the back of a car. And you're just not sure when you're looking at the front of it or the back of it, which end is which. They actually probably look a little bit better with their headlights up at the front. But the thing is that now it's kind of mellowed. If you look at it from the side, it's also really nicely proportioned. I think it's a very delicate car. And I personally like the looks. I think it's a real example of where, especially with time, weird is no longer bad. I mean, can we say, does it look like a Porsche? To me it does. When I see these, I think Porsche, I don't think VW. Now they're fairly practical things as well. In terms of storage, the front boot isn't too bad, but if you wanted to take the Targa roof off, it's easy enough. There's just 4 clips and then you stow it in the boot, and it's quite nice that it sits right at the top, so if you want to have some storage underneath, you can still use it. So when it comes to this, I think we need to split it into 2 parts, performance and handling. So first of all, let's take it through the gears and see how the little VW engine does. I think that was Harry in his Lambo that we've just gone past. Okay, so performance wise, well, it does get to 60 eventually. I mean, it's not a fast car, but I think that the noise that it makes while it's doing it kind of makes up for it. And because you sit so low, it doesn't feel like it's a slow car. You know, there's so much going on that you're still able to enjoy it. I think though this is where it's going to shine particularly. Just the inherent balance and the lightweight means that without too much effort you can just flow it through these bends. 60 miles an hour I'm doing here, which is the speed limit of this road, but I didn't slow down at all. It's not many older cars that you can take through at that same speed, especially on these winter tyres. So however well it does, it would do a lot better, I'm sure, with a set of more adequate tyres for it. I mean, it seems to be driving all right as it is. It's not super precise, but it's just got a balance about it, which is really lovely. The gearbox is a little bit tricky, but we definitely can't say that's not a Porsche thing, because it is a 901. It's what they used to have on 911s back in the day, and it is known that it's the kind of thing, the kind of shift that it takes you a while to understand where the gears are actually placed. But the trade-off is that it's really nice and mechanical. It makes you concentrate about what you're doing, so it gives back in a different way. Brakes are a little bit wooden, a little bit squishy, not the best aspect of the car. I think that is without doubt the steering. Let's just run it up through the gears again. Oh, and again, I got the wrong second gear. It really does require quite some concentration, that gearbox. Otherwise, I've been going from first to fourth. Pretty good grip, really, especially considering the tread pattern on those tyres. It's a little gem. It was so neutral through that corner. I wouldn't really like to lose grip because the steering isn't very quick. I don't know how easy it would be to catch a slide, but honestly, it felt so benign. I mean, the last one of these I drove was a GT replica, and that was an altogether different beast. The suspension was much stiffer, the engine was much louder, but the VW 4-cylinder is actually surprisingly pleasant. It's louder than you'd think. This particular car has a stainless steel exhaust, so I'm sure that that helps, but it does sound pretty good. It's characterful. It's quite a torquey little engine. It feels like it has a heavy flywheel, so it will pick up from quite low revs in sort of top gear with no problems whatsoever. And you do get a little bit more power out of it if you rev it. It's no powerhouse though, but this is what it's all about. Look at this corner. You drop it in, the steering loads up, and you can feel that the chassis is just perfectly balanced as you're going through the corner. You don't really need to slow down particularly, it will just go through. The 911 style of slow in, fast out, which I've never particularly liked, doesn't affect this, luckily. And the interior, does it feel like a Porsche? Well, one thing I can say for certain is it's as 70s as platform shoes and disco balls. I mean, everything in here, from the pattern of the door cards, on the dash here, this lovely textured soft plastic, the corduroy on the seats, the big clear round instruments, which are definitely, as far as I can see, they are sort of very much like 911s that I remember of anyway. The seats look simple, but I've got plenty of room here and they're really quite comfortable. You can even adjust the driver's one at least for tilt. One thing I have, I suppose, with long legs, if you try and keep them straight, well, they will hit the top of the steering wheel. But all in all, for an older car, it's not too compromised. Now, this one, being a left-hand drive and a European car, would have been sold as a Volkswagen originally. It does have now Porsche badges everywhere, but people used to do that, even the dealers themselves, so we don't know, it may have come like this already. With 111,000 kilometers on the clock, that's about 90,000 miles. This is a really fine example. So I was lucky to be able to try this today because Ian is very fastidious about what he does. He's kept it as original as possible, but it's in great condition. Now on this, I have some bad news. These 914s, especially the 4s, they used to be incredibly cheap. I'm sure last time I looked, you could get a usable car for about £5,000. And even a 914-6, 10 to 15,000. And I looked last night and I almost fell off my chair. I just couldn't believe it. 914-6s, they are now £100,000 cars. When and how did that happen? It's just crazy. And even 914-4s like this one, a project that needs a lot of work will be about sort of £10,000 starting price. For a usable okay car, 20,000. A nice one like this has been valued at 30. It's been really interesting driving this 914 today. It's such a contrast to the GT that I drove before. That was much more, it was a mini hot rod, so that was much more about instant gratification. This one has the edges blunted, if I can say it like that, so it takes a little while longer to appreciate how good it is and in what area it's particularly good. It's obviously much more usable than the other car. It's quieter, though not that quiet. You can hear the engine, and you have to be a bit more delicate about the way you put it through the corners, but still, it's quite a responsive little car. And even on those tyres, you can go round corners a lot quicker than you think you should. Okay, so what can we say about it? In terms of performance, it is a little slow, but it's characterful enough, I think, for us to give it a pass. In terms of handling, certainly I can feel some similarities, not in the balance of the car, but in the way it sort of feels, in the weighing of the controls with a 911. It also feels pretty well built. It's quite solid. What you get through the steering wheel, when you touch the various surfaces, even the little sliders for the heating, everything just gives you a feeling of solidity despite the fact that it is so light. When it comes to price, certainly we can say that it is a Porsche because, yeah, maybe back in the day they weren't appreciated and it was an issue, but nowadays they're worth a lot of money. So in what way is this not a Porsche? I think it's good fun. It has a character of its own. It's different to the 6, but in many ways it's no worse. I'm not sure if I can feel the difference in terms of weight. I'd have to drive the cars back to back. But certainly this has a delicacy and a feel through the corners, which is lovely. So a big thanks to Ian for coming down today and bringing me his lovely 914, and to all of you for watching.